And just play whatever along with it. Yeah. So it's gotten better. But of course, you always have the sort of the typical kids that are standing there. You have the one that's like all singing and all into it and all this fun stuff, and then you have the one that's like sitting there and they're just like, whatever, I really don't want to be here and I really don't know the words, so I'm just gonna look like I'm human. Then you have the one that's going, it's not your turn, it's stupid. So they're not actually singing, but they're policing everybody else because they're either not singing or singing.
Oh, did you have the kid that likes to sing all the parts?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was that kid.
Yeah.
I like to sing all the parts.
There was like Christmas carols. It was like 4 Christmas carols from around, like they did one, I think that was from possibly the Caribbean, I'm not sure, and then they did like a traditional like Christmas carol, and then they did I believe it was a Jewish carol of some sort, and then
I don't hear many of those.
And then they did
it was other than
what is it
Dreidel,
called?
Dreidel,
Once
Dreidel?
Upon a December from Anastasia.
Oh, is that a
which
Christmas
I'm like
song?
Well, they turned everything into fucking Christmas songs now.
Oh, anything that can be commercialized.
Like my favorite things, because they happen to mention like brown paper packages. I'm like, it's not a Christmas song. Stop it. Like, stop. So, but yeah, and then I got beaten up by a dog.
On purpose?
Not on purpose. Stupid woman can't control her dog. Her dog tried to eat my dog. I was trying to get my dog
Please note that I was not the stupid woman.
No. I was trying to get my dog out of her dog's mouth, and my dog couldn't tell the difference between me and the dog that was eating him, so he bit me instead.
It was out of fear.
Yeah. Oh, you guys like my Christmas sweater? It's a T-Rex with a disco ball.
Oh, it's too bad he can't do that.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Such a sad story in such a short amount of time.
For those of you that are watching and want to join in on the drinking game, go ahead and message Ryan, and he will shoot you the rules.
Last week was dangerous.
Our people have drinking games.
Okay.
Yeah.
That started this season.
Yeah, that started.
I can't wait to see what happens.
This should be interesting.
As we just keep going.
So what did you do, Felicia, this weekend?
So I played Mrs. Claus or Mrs. Claus or Mrs. Claus or MX Claus or whatever you want to be. At the Equality Arizona holiday celebration.
I'm mad. I had to go watch a bunch of 4th graders for 20 minutes instead of taking that gig.
Oh, it was so much fun. So I just stood there for an hour, took pictures with Santa Claus. There was 3 Santa Clauses and there was 2 Mrs. Clauses.
If I were a kid, I would have been like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
Well, we came up with a plan and we said Santa Claus has 2.
Subordinate clauses.
Uh-huh. And then, so, there was no, it was almost like the kids, like, understood. They were like, oh, Santa has 2 wives. All right. We got it. And they were,
Santa can have sister wives. We don't judge.
Well, that's what we said when we got there. We're like, we're the sister wives.
Santa can have as many wives as
there's so many pictures
appropriate
of me reading
the confines of their relationship.
Of me reading stories to the children.
Which is impressive. The fact that she's reading.
The part that got impressive.
We didn't know that you could read.
Neither did I. It was
There's lots of pictures. If you look at the book, there's lots of pictures. I don't know that
big words.
Right.
Big words. Like
big, large print. She was probably just describing what was
small length words.
Big print.
Font type.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? There we go.
Yes, at my comprehension level. But I'm going
still
to
higher comprehension level than the guy in the White House.
We almost went 1 episode without talking about him.
Almost. No, we didn't.
No. We talk about him all the time. And I blame that we were the correction that he was trying to make. I think we were on his mind. He read like our tweet or something and he's like, he's like, fuck them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, just kidding. I meant to delete that.
Yeah.
Sorry
cool.
about that, guys.
That's cool.
Sunday, I did not do anything. And then, was it Monday? Monday, I had a complete breakdown because I have something going on in my life.
Yay for complete breakdown!
And then I was like, wow, I'm on like cloud 9 since I got back from Austin, but...
never mind.
Okay.
Just kidding!
Shucks. And that's where we are.
Oh, and Ryan, yes, we know YouTube isn't working. We don't know why.
It should be working now.
It might be working now, but it wasn't before, and we know that.
It's working now.
I'm not sure why it wasn't working.
I still have a lopsided eye.
Tilt your head a little bit. Or something. Just... It's probably still lopsided. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
If you support us on Patreon, I can buy new lashes. Sorry.
Alright. So... We're going to do things a little bit out of order.
I meant to move them around. Sorry.
That's okay. So we're going to do things a little bit out of order. Usually I do my tip, and then we talk to the guests, but we're going to swap it.
Oh, I love
because
swap
this
it
evening
around.
we're going to switch it up, if you would.
Oh, you're going to come with the puns today, huh?
I mean, I come with everything.
Here we go. So we're going to just shorten this and then put jokes under it.
Right.
Yeah. Dad jokes.
Yeah. The other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, with 2 D's. Okay. Da.
He's got the double D.
Da.
Oh, God.
Sorry. Go.
So our special guest this evening is actually going to be helping me with my tip because it's something that he knows about. And we've talked about it before, but now we have an expert with us, so I figured I would take advantage of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Expert is relative, you know? I mean, you know more about it than I do.
Okay.
And while I do know some things...
You don't know everything.
I don't know everything, and you do know more than me. So in that sense, you can be an expert.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything.
So this is Daddy Kenneth, who is
another drink. Damn.
part of the who's part of the leather community here in Phoenix. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of who you are in the leather community, how you got started in the leather community,
etc.
Okay.
So
my name is Daddy Kenneth, or just Kenneth if you're uncomfortable calling a strange man daddy. I know that's rare in this community that we get uncomfortable calling strange men daddy, but
my husband doesn't like it when I call him daddy.
Well, my husband doesn't like it when I call him daddy either, but that's our relationship.
On about you, not Mountain.
So I first entered the leather community in 2007 officially, and me and my husband, who is also my boy and my pup, and we started a group called the Arizona Pups and Handlers, one of the first groups in Phoenix or in the nation actually, for the pup and handler community.
I didn't realize that you actually started that.
I did.
That's awesome.
Well, I co-founded it with my pup.
Right.
And several other members
y'all did.
Of the leather community.
Mm-hmm. Well, the drinks are going. Leather must be one of those.
Leather is probably one of them. Daddy is probably one of them.
Daddy.
Oh, Corey's just jumping right in there. All right.
So then I also joined several of the local groups and organizations and started working with them. But I really got my start because I went out to it was called Padlock at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Panda Express now.
Oh my God! But it's so true.
So I went out to Padlock at the time, and I was trying to get to know people. I was trying to introduce myself, and I met this guy named Steven who started taking me under his wing and teaching me a lot of what I know today, and a lot of how he interacted with the leather community. He also started a club or two back before I became a member of the leather community. And he started teaching me a lot. And he's got a philosophy of each one teach one. And so I was one of the people that he taught a lot of stuff to. And then I just started volunteering and taking things on and having a good time with it and learning everything that I could. In 2008, I ran for Mr. Cellblock Phoenix Leather. The bar had changed names at that point in time. And I won. I went to International Mr. Leather that May in Chicago. And then I came back and Cellblock had closed, but Steven and I went on to produce the Mr. Phoenix Leather contest. And we started that in 2009. We've had that running for 9 years or 10 years. We're about to go into our 11th contest.
Oh, wow.
And
Just like
we are adding this year Ms. Phoenix Leather.
Nice.
So,
excellent.
That's a breakthrough, right? Like herstory.
It's not really a breakthrough. There's been Ms. title holders in the area before. There just haven't been any recently.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have in the leather community International Ms. Leather. And so we thought that it was about time that we started sending folks from the Phoenix community to compete at International Ms. Leather, because we've been sending folks to International Mr. Leather for a decade. Longer, actually.
Right.
But me and Steven have been sending them for a decade. We thought we should start sending
So
them.
real quick about in regards to the Mr. and the Ms, it's like, as long as you identify as male, you can compete for the Mr., right?
Correct.
So whether you're trans or cis or whatever, as long as you identify as male, you can, and same vice versa for the Ms.
Correct.
Oh.
Actually, the rules for Ms. are slightly less stringent than the rules for Mr.
Interesting.
For Mr. Leather, International Mr. Leather, you have to identify as male.
I feel
Okay.
like
In
there
your
is so much drinking.
in your
Gotcha.
everyday life, you
Gotcha.
have to identify as male.
Gotcha.
Doesn't matter what your driver's license says, but as long as you are
Identify.
a male,
Gotcha. Okay.
then you can compete for Mr.
Okay.
And there have been multiple trans men who have competed for Mr. We've had one trans man win International Mr. Leather.
Ooh.
That happened in 2010. And then the word leather
I told you.
That's your own damn fault. We have a fucking leather man with us. Why the hell would you make leather a buzzword?
He said it like 5 times in one sentence.
Right?
I don't.
But the Miss category or the Miss title, you don't necessarily have to identify as a female. You can be gender nonconforming. You can be.
Interesting.
It's just a little bit less strict. But they do say you will be representing a female title
Gotcha.
throughout your year.
Gotcha.
And so you have to be willing to represent as a female title holder, or as a title holder of a female title.
That's interesting.
So
what was it that kind of drew you to the leather community? Like, what was it that like when you first kind of started familiarizing yourself with the leather community, and whether it was you knew people or whatever, what was it that was like,
The draw.
oh, I really like this community, like these are my people?
So first off, it was personal preference. It's fucking sexy. It's absolutely, I love the smell of leather. I love wearing leather.
So, secret for you, I totally have a thing for leather. Even when I was a kid, when I would go horseback riding, I would take way too long getting the tack on the horses because I just loved the smell. Like, I would just sit there and just smell the leather the entire time and just,
Sometimes, like I'm wearing the gloves. Sometimes I'll just sit there with the...
It's like, oh, this is...
Well, Ryan, if you
while I make Freddy melt over here. Just the leather and the all of that just sort of spoke to me. So I was really interested in it. And it wasn't until I settled down in Phoenix that I could really start exploring the community aspect of it. Because and a lot of that, the draw was I was looking for somewhere to belong. And I found a lot of camaraderie, a lot of brotherhood, a lot of sisterhood, a lot of just family in the leather community. I mentioned my mentor, Steven, who's been an absolute wonderful person. I have been good friends with all of the members of his leather family for years and years and years. It's just a sense of community. And then on top of that, we like to have wild and crazy fundraisers, raise a bunch of money and give it back to the community. Give it back to the community. And we like to have a lot of fun with each other. And so, to be honest, I first knew that I was a leather man. I was at an event.
Oh, I like
it was
the
a
sound. You can go ahead. Mm-hmm.
it was a historical recreation event, and there was a person selling floggers, which is a type of whip.
Yeah.
And so I picked, or a friend of mine actually picked one up and like started playfully hitting people with it. And it's like, oh, this is fun. And I'm like, here, let me see that. And I took it and I hit somebody with it. And the first time I hit somebody with a flogger, I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is it. This is everything that I needed to know about myself. And so that's kind of how I got involved. And then I just started showing up and volunteering and helping out and doing the things that needed to get done.
Awesome. So a lot of people, they don't really, unless you're kind of a part of the community, there's obviously, with most things, there's a lot of misconceptions. And I think one of the things that people seem to think of when they think of the leather community is a bunch of guys wandering around in like leather chaps, and that's,
that's not what it is.
Pretty much it. But like you mentioned, that like there's more. Like there's fundraisers and there's charity work and all sorts of stuff. Like what kind of things do the leather community get into? Like that isn't just naked men in chaps. I mean, don't get me wrong, the naked men in chaps are.
The naked men in chaps is a big part of it. Let's not discount.
No problem with the naked men in chaps.
I know.
And I'd like to thank you for just saying chaps and not adding...
Assholes chaps?
Yeah.
Because that's fucking redundant.
Right. Not adding the redundancy
Do
in
people
there.
say that?
Yes.
Assless chaps. Chaps are assless.
By definition. So yes. So
if they're not
naked men in...
Right.
Exactly. Naked men in chaps is always fun. But...
except for at Pride when you're watching the children go.
Sometimes that's fun too, as long as the dick is covered and there's something over the ass, then that's fine. Sorry, what was the question again? I got distracted.
What else does the leather what else does the leather community do?
So like I said, there's a lot of people who get really involved in fundraising. There's a lot of people who get really involved with title holding. There's a lot of people who get really involved in like the gear, and sometimes that's a sexual aspect of it. Sometimes it's just an aesthetic aspect of it. So I get in trouble for this a lot, but I compare it a lot to the drag community.
Oh, that makes sense.
Some people are in it to play dress up. Some people are in it because it's who they are. And some people are in it because they want to do something with it. They want to make money. They want to raise money for other people. Things like that. There's just so much that you can get out of it, and then so much you can do with it.
And I've noticed there's a lot of sort of crossover between the leather community and the Imperial court, at least here.
There is less.
Is it not like that anywhere else?
There is less of that in other places. But here, so the Imperial Court here was actually founded at a leather event. The
I feel like a rainbow and a star just flew over.
Right.
The two founders of the Arizona Imperial Court were hanging out at a leather event, and they commented to each other that there wasn't a court in Arizona, and one of them said to the other, "Why don't we start it?" And so they had both reigned in other realms before moving to Arizona,
Gotcha.
and so because they were at this leather event together, and most of the people in their immediate social circle were leather people who had a passion for fundraising and a passion for charity. Our court kind of grew out of that. And now, obviously, we've branched out. We've We still have a lot of people in the leather community involved in the court, but we've also branched out and we've reached out, and we've got, you know, the trans community involved in the Imperial Court, and we've got the drag community involved in the Imperial Court, and we've got the straight community involved in the Imperial Court, and we have had, you know, one of our first empresses was a heterosexual female who reigned in the Imperial Court, and then, you know, now we have our first trans male emperor. A couple of years ago, we had our first trans female empress, and we've got sister emperors or sister empresses. We've had 2 empresses that were members of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, and we just
shout out to that.
Get everybody as involved as we can.
Now, if someone were to say, like, you know, if they, because I know sometimes trying to get into a community, whether it be drag, whether it be leather, whether it be any sort of community within the community, you know, you feel drawn to it, but you're not sure where to start to go and to, you know,
who to
get
talk
that
to,
right, who to talk to, and, you know, and if you're an introvert like me, I get nervous going places by myself, especially if I don't know if I'm going to know anybody. I'm like, so, like, how, if someone was like, oh, you know what? I like the idea of the leather community, whether it's whatever aspect of it, you know, how would somebody...
What's the first step?
Right. Start to, you know...
So believe it or not, I am also highly introverted. I push past it a lot, but I don't really like to talk to people I don't know. So that's why it took me a long time just showing up at Cellblock and standing quietly in the corner and watching everything happen. And it was when somebody noticed me and walked up to me and said hi and introduced themselves. So I surround myself with people who are willing to go up to people in the bar and introduce themselves.
That sounds familiar.
So that they can help draw those people in. Now, it's more difficult at a bar like Anvil, which is our leather bar in Phoenix, because we do get a lot of looky-loos who aren't there to get involved. Right. They're just there to observe and watch what we're doing, and they don't want anything to do with it. Right. They just want to watch. Now, whatever reasons that they have for wanting to watch, that's fine.
That happens at drag shows, too.
But... so we don't always know. We're sitting there and we're in the bar and we're like, is that person just here to watch, or is that person watching us because they're waiting for us to introduce ourselves? Right. So it's hard to tell. So my suggestion is always just keep coming back. Just keep coming back. If you're there like 5 Saturdays in a row, somebody is going to introduce themselves, unless you are completely one of those wallflowers that intentionally blends into the background. Right. But we try.
Those people are okay too.
We try to. Those people are okay too, but we're not necessarily going to approach them.
Right.
But we, a lot of my friends, a lot of the people that I hang out with, try to approach people, new faces that we see, and say, "Hey, how you doing? What are you doing here?"
So, just an FYI, anybody ever sees me at some sort of an event that wouldn't normally be my norm, and I'm standing there, please come talk to me, because I'm not going to talk to you.
Or I make him go talk to people.
Chicken shit. I'm the one that you're going to want to come talk to.
I just walk up to everybody.
Yeah. Hi. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Me,
I don't
I
do that.
don't do that
I don't
either.
do that
I'm terrible at that. Like, and I should be better at it. And whenever I happen to mention to somebody that I'm an introvert, they're like,
"Yeah, I get the same look."
I'm like, "No, really,
I have a script in my head that I have practiced so that I can approach somebody who comes to my bar.
Nice.
It's like." But once I'm done with that script, if you have not taken over the conversation...
You got nothing.
I've got nothing. I'm like, "Hi, how are you? What brings you out tonight? How you doing? You having fun so far?" Okay.
Oh, all right.
All right, thanks. I'm done.
And it was good talking to you. I'm going to go over here now. Thanks.
No, I can't even end it that gracefully.
Yeah.
I'm just like...
You've never done that to me.
Because you picked up the conversation.
Oh,
you took it and ran with it.
I see.
I never had...
My extrovertedness came out and said,
Yeah.
"Hey, come on in."
I broke the ice, right? And then you like just kept the conversation going, and I didn't have to do anything.
I figure if I just start making out with somebody, then I don't have to worry about talking to them. Like it's just I don't have to worry about the whole conversation thing.
You better be careful.
Out with me.
Consent is sexy. We just talked about this. Consent is
well,
sexy.
yes, obviously, don't make out with somebody if they don't want you to make out with them. You know the whole consent thing, but you know, so will you scroll up?
Oh, now we're going back.
Yes. So now that we're on the subject, and like I said, this is some stuff that we've actually talked about. This is some stuff that I have talked about on the show a few times. But when better to bring it up again when we have somebody who actually lives the lifestyle. So my tip is going to be
never mind.
Daddy Kenneth's tip.
You're giving my tip away. I see. I mean, not that I don't give it away enough.
I was going to say,
but
wow. Did you ask first? You didn't ask. He's willing. It's fine.
I'm like, I don't. So, for the people at home, can you kind of explain? And I understand this is it's based on your own experiences and you know what you've done within the community and everything. And obviously, just like with anything else, no two people are going to have the same answer because that's just kind of, you know,
the way things are.
Right.
Just like drag queens don't all put on the same makeup the same way.
So, if you could explain to the folks at home the kind of the differences within the different, I guess, I don't want to say hierarchy, but the different roles within the leather community. Like, you have the daddies, the sirs, the doms, a handler, and a master. What are the differences between all of those? Because they're not necessarily the same, and they're not mutually exclusive. And
they are not mutually exclusive, but they are not the same. The way I look at it, for me, the way I kind of define it is half how you personally identify and half how you interact with others.
Okay.
So, for instance, like a master is usually somebody who is seeking a total power exchange relationship.
Okay.
They want complete consensual control over another person's life and another person and how that person interacts with other people. And so a master, which, by the way, master is a gender neutral term.
Yes.
And but some people choose to use other like mistress or various other.
Right. Oh, thanks for clearing.
Various other types of words. But a master is someone who typically seeks a total power exchange relationship with another person. A daddy typically has some sort of nurturing relationship with their submissives. Their submissives are like looking to be kind of coddled and not necessarily and coddled in a good way, not like they need extra help or anything, but they need that affection and that really in-depth kind of relationship. A dominant person or a dom is just somebody who identifies on the big end of the spectrum. I see Sir very much the same way. And a lot of people, for a lot of people, Sir is like, so there's a hierarchy, right? For a lot of people, where it's like, I'm a dominant person, and then once you have a submissive, you are a Sir to that submissive.
Gotcha.
And then
is it that way for everyone?
Then no, it's not that way for everyone. But then, like, the Sir will decide if they are a daddy or if they want to be a master, and then like kind of, and some people they like Sir is it. That's where it's at, and that they don't want to be a daddy Sir. They don't want to be a master Sir. They are just a dominant person who wants authority over another person without necessarily having the in-depth like emotional catering. They don't want the total power exchange. So for me, like I look at like Sir, Daddy, Master all on kind of a plane.
Okay.
There are other people who look at it as hierarchies, and you've got to graduate from one to the other, and I don't know how you graduate from one to the other.
You don't get a certificate
that
says
congratulations.
congratulations.
There's there's not a school, there's not a certificate. There's, but I experimented with different ways of identifying myself when I first started, and I was like, well, I'm going to be a master, and folks were like, no, that's not really, like, people that I trusted who were interacting
that
with
makes
me,
sense. I don't know that I can necessarily see you as a master either.
They were like, are you really sure that that's where you're going with this? Because we're not. And then I tried serve for a while, and I'm like, and one of the reasons that I was avoiding Daddy at that time is because I was 24.
That makes sense.
And there were a lot of people who were like, Daddy at 24? Really? And I was like, well, I mean, that's how I identify. And so I felt really uncomfortable with it for a long time. And then my boy kind of fixed that for me. We were in a discussion group one time, and one of the other daddies looked at me and he said, Kenneth, when you are ready, you will embrace that title and you will know that it's right for you.
Sense. And when it comes to the different, like, when it comes to, like, daddies and subs and things like that.
Then I had my identifying moment, because I'm sitting there at the bar one time, and I was doing this relationship with my boy where, like, I had all of the money, and we would go out together, and he could not buy a drink or anything by himself. That was a part of the scene that we had negotiated. And so he came up, and he was just being goofy, but he's like, Daddy, can I have a drink? And I was like, sure. And I handed the bartender the cash. And my mentor, who I call Daddy, was standing right there, and he just looked at me out of the corner of his eyes, and I'm like, wait! And he's like, no, too late. That happens, so you're done.
And age has nothing to do with it. Like, you can be a boy at 55, and you can be a daddy at, like, 30. It's more of a mindset than anything to do with, age or whatever. Really, it's.
I read an article like that once.
Yeah,
that identified what you just said.
So yeah, it is a lot how you identify, and then it's also a lot how you carry yourself. Because if you're going to identify as something, you have to live it. Otherwise
you're a hot mess, just running around.
You're a poser.
And so for me, for a long time in my 20s, I identified as daddy, and people would, like, call me out on it, and they would be like, well, you're too young to be a daddy, you aren't, you don't know what you're doing, and I'm like, that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable for you to believe that. You can call me Kenneth. And like, I've had several people come back to me years later, and they're like, oh, I see now. What I didn't see then. And the only reason I looked twice is because you didn't force me. You didn't force me to call you something I was uncomfortable calling you. You just accepted that was my experience. And so now I accept that this is your experience.
Oh, I like that.
That's good. So on the flip side of that, what would you say the differences would be between, like, a boy, a sub, a pup, a slave?
I'm going to watch this later, right?
I know, you're going to take notes.
So, very similar to the dominant side of the slash. The submissive side of the slash, it's a lot how you identify and a lot how you want to interact with people. Like, a slave is someone who wants somebody else to control their life and tell them what to do and give them things to do that satisfy their need for service, right? And a boy is somebody who is submissive, service-oriented, playful, fun, and, like, wants to have that kind of nurturing relationship with the daddy, or wants to have that kind of disciplined relationship with a sir. And then a sub is a person who identifies on the submissive side, but maybe, like, they want to engage in the submissiveness during a scene. and not at work, or during the scene and not at home.
What do you mean by scene? For people that don't know,
when we're engaging in BDSM or in the relationship dynamic.
And it's not always sexual.
It's not always sexual. It could be physical. It could be mental. It could be,
I think people forget the multiple aspects of all the, even some of the stuff that we've discussed. I think people forget the multiple aspects of all of it. Yeah.
And then one thing that I did not cover under the dominant side was handler and pup. Although a handler doesn't necessarily need a pup doesn't necessarily need a handler, and a handler typically is dealing with a submissive who has some sort of animal identity.
Right.
And a pup or a kitty or whatever animal you identify as typically wants to interact with somebody who will handle them and allow them to experience that freedom of being in a role play situation as an animal and have fun with it without worrying about whether or not they're going to stub their toe on a table leg or something like that. Or
why are you looking at me?
If the pump fits.
So, what is the role of a bootblack? I mean, obviously, besides the obvious, within within the community.
Okay, so to answer your question, a bootblack is a person who engages in leather care. And it is either a service for them, or it is an erotic experience for them, or and typically those are the main draws to bootblacking.
I just have to say, I have had some amazing bootblacking experiences. Like,
I was at a contest weekend once, and I sat down in a bootblack's chair, and she was female, and people were not used to seeing me interact with females at that moment, and we did a scene, and at one point in time, she's working on this leg, and I have this boot like between her legs, like grinding into her crotch.
For those people that don't know what that means, you have to explain that. Because we have like new people that have never heard you explain this.
So as far as working on a boot, like,
you have to
so
explain
it's leather care. It's if
like
you see the shoe shine,
I would say like a shoe shine on steroids.
Yeah, it's shining the shoes, but adding a level of service and eroticism to it. And so she was shining this shoe while I had this shoe dug up into her crotch, and she was making out with my boot, and I was rubbing her head, and then we switched, and we're doing this whole thing, and we're out on the patio of a bar,
okay over there?
and we did.
And
we sit down, she sits back, she looks up at me, I look at her, and out of our peripheral vision, we see the two guys sitting at the table who had been watching the scene both just grab a cigarette and light a cigarette and sit there, and they're like, and one of the guys is like, he better fucking tip her for that. It was absolutely amazing. It was one of the best experiences that I've had in a bootblack's chair.
Bootblacks don't just do boots; like they will take care of whatever your leather, everything. Yes. So your vest, your assless chaps, you didn't. Just kidding. Your hat, your gloves, whatever leather gear you're wearing,
and not just leather too. There are bootblacks who will take care of your rubber gear. There are bootblacks who will, because leather or rubber needs a lot of care too. Yes. There's other types of gear. They will make sure that you are cleaned, shined, polished, and ready to face whatever it is that you're facing. Bootblacks are really, really like important to us as we get ready for contests and things like that. We really rely on our bootblacks. Yeah, they're like dressers times 2, because not only are they putting the leather on you, but then they are cleaning it while it's on you, and they have contests to kind of determine skill and presentation and knowledge and things like that. And it's actually a really heavily involved sub community of the leather community that exists to really like take care of the rest of us and do it in a really super erotic way.
That's
and
awesome.
have a lot of fun with it.
How do you train to be a bootblack? Like, it's like,
that
are
was my
there
next question.
like, how does that, like, because I can totally see the appeal. Like, I absolutely see the appeal. Like, do you find like a mentor? Like, do you apprentice as at the the whole thing? Like, what
9 times out of 10, it's some sort of mentorship situation where you find somebody who knows what they're doing. Hopefully knows what they're doing, and they start teaching you. There's also a very wide network of people. There's a group on Facebook that is just a bootblack group where if you have questions or you have concerns about something that you're doing or you just want to connect with other bootblacks.
There's a group on Facebook for everything.
There is a group, but it's a really great group because the amount of knowledge in that group is absolutely astronomical.
That's
and
awesome.
Like anything that you could think to ask or you wouldn't even think to ask, it's there, right? And you get questions like, I've got these white patent leather pumps that my mistress wants to wear, and they've got a scuff on them, and I know that you can't, like, what do you do with that? And you'd be surprised at the answer.
That's awesome.
Windex.
Mm-hmm. I believe that, yeah. Yeah, Windex,
but,
yeah, I can see that.
But, how do you get peanut butter out of suede shoes?
It's a crime.
God.
How did you get peanut butter? Never mind.
Right.
Don't want to know.
No. My first question would be...
But here's like 5 different solutions that you could try from this wealth of knowledge that exists out there in the community. And then we have like events where people like come together and we've got an international Mr. Bootblack competition. We've got an international Miss Bootblack competition. The Southwest Leather Conference has an entire bootblack lounge of people who come from all over the country just to play with boots and clean leather, and usually there's a contest.
I would spend hours. Like, I swear to God, I'd be like, okay.
I thought one year we talked about that you were going to go.
I've always wanted to. It's one of those things that's always been one of those things that
Okay. I'll go.
If you've never you need to get like a pair of boots and go find a bootblack and have them. Like it's an experience that is unlike anything else. It's like even if you're not even if you don't necessarily identify as part of the leather community or you're not really in that community, it's still like there's still this this energy exchange where you just leave you get out of the chair and it feels like you just had a massage. Oh. And when all they really did was shine your boots, but you leave the chair and you're just like you're goo, you're mush, you're just, and they haven't touched you. Like, it depends, you know what I mean? Like they, you know what I mean? Like they yeah, it's yeah, I highly recommend it.
Bootblacks are amazing people, and they can do amazing things to like leather that you thought was ruined forever because you inherited it from your uncle. And
actually, I have a pair of assless chaps that need to be worked on.
Oh my God! Is that on the? That's not on the sheet.
No, it wouldn't be now
because nobody's drinking, and everybody fell off. Did they either fall off because they were drunk?
They got too drunk saying things like leather at the beginning too many times. Everybody's wasted.
Like, bag. What is this?
One of the other things that I thought would be kind of cool for everybody to know is if anybody's been around the leather community and seen everybody in their gear.
I love this.
Just like you, actually currently, on different pieces, you'll find either trim or something of a different color. Yeah. I've noticed the most prevalent ones are usually like a green, like a hunter green, blue, red, yellow, and white. So what do the different colors mean?
So technically speaking, no. Technically speaking, nothing.
Why?
Most of the colored leather origin is from motorcycle culture. And if you're wearing all black leather, you are less visible on the road to cars.
Yeah.
And so the first colors that they started putting on leathers for motorcycle riders were the lighter colors, like red, although certain colors of red.
Right.
But white, gray, yellow, those were really easy to find on leather. Now, there is something in the leather community called flagging, and it is wearing a specific colored hanky to indicate your sexual fetishes.
Never heard of it.
We've talked about the hanky code a few times. I've even mentioned what I would be flagging. Nobody ever pays attention.
But you have some people that have never watched.
So there are certain colors of handkerchief. Now, people who flag those colors also tend to be drawn to wanting those colors on their leather. And so if you wear leather with a color, oftentimes people will ask you, and I've been asked the question, is that color a passion or is it a fashion choice? I went to one of my first leather contests wearing a stunning red shirt that looked incredibly good on me.
So how many times did you get asked if you were into fisting?
Just the once. But a good one of the guys competing with me came up to me and he's like, "So that red shirt, passion or fashion?" And I said, "It's fashion." He goes, "Oh," and he walks away. Which was really sad because he was really hot.
Damn it.
I didn't get to play with him for another 5 years because he lived out of the country. So I blew it that time. But
you didn't know the right answer at the right time.
I didn't know the right answer at the right time. But then again, I wear the red shirt, but I am not into fisting, which is what red stands for. Just fashion, dear. I'm not into fisting, so I wouldn't have been interested in that scene with him that time anyway. I am into water sports. I've got a lot of yellow gear. Yellow also looks good on me, so bonus.
So the yellow in your case is both passion and fashion.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with it.
And then
I didn't see Mike.
there are various other colors in the hanky code. If you just Google gay hanky code, it will pull up lists upon lists upon lists of things that people are into that they have assigned a color hanky to.
And that's been around for decades.
Yes.
It's been around. It was how, way back in the day, it was how you'd be able to identify somebody that you would have the same sort of interests with if you were cruising, but didn't necessarily want to take the chance on approaching somebody who wasn't gay and then, get your ass kicked.
Yeah. So the hanky code actually started as a joke in a magazine. And someone was like, because the predecessor to the hanky code were keys, and how you hung your keys off your belt kind of indicated if you were in a gay leather bar cruising, kind of indicated what you were looking for. And then people also used that to subvert the system. Like bottoms who were not looking would flag top, and then so that all the tops would leave them alone. I can't imagine that happening in this day and age. Tops typically would flag bottoms so that all the bottoms would leave them alone in this day and age. But so it was keys at first, and then somebody took that idea, pitched it to their magazine editor, and went, "Why don't we run a story about this thing that I just made up?" And so the story ran. And then the people ran with it.
And they caught. I think it caught on, and
hashtag fake news.
So you guys should Google the hanky code and tell us what you would be flagging, because why not? Well, what would I be flagging?
I look it up all the time when I see people.
Red left, light pink left, sometimes right. Gray, mostly left, occasionally right, depending on the person. Hunter green left.
He has them memorized. I don't. I look them up on my phone when I see somebody with a hanky.
You're like,
I'm like, well, what is this one?
What does this mean? Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got black left. I do enjoy some gray left. Dark or hunter green left. Purple middle. Right or left, depending on my mood.
That's for you.
Fuck, we have to be so complicated.
Because there's so many
elements.
different
Because why
things
not?
out there.
Because if it was so vague that you just had like a red flag, then you'd be like, there's a list here. Let me just go through the list.
Sometimes,
of all
though, I
the
wish,
Why
like-
do we have to be complicated? We have to be complicated because we are unique individuals that are into all sorts of different things. And when I'm into something, I want to be able to indicate to you that I'm into it so that maybe we can get together and have a good time.
That was a very good answer.
And, well,
you won the pageant.
Right. And an onstage question.
Damn. Wow, that was great.
I've been producing, judging, and watching contests. For
You did that like on the spot. You're like, yes.
Well, what's going to be funny now is everybody's going to Google the hanky code. And now every time they happen to see somebody with something on something, and it's not just like a bandana. It can be, you see like a leather wristband or something, and you'd be like,
I wonder.
Like, it always makes me chuckle when I see like skater boys with like a white handkerchief on the right. I'm like, oh, honey.
Do you know?
Oh, she's... Brittany's looking up to see what she would be
Hey,
finding.
Brittany.
That's good. That's
good for you, Brittany.
That's good.
Welcome to this side of the world.
I don't have enough room on my pants to flag everything that I would be flagging.
We can get creative.
So what most of us do is we pick like our top 3 and we decide, all right, what am I going to flag? Or we pick what we're into that night if we're going out.
Maybe this is what I'm looking for.
This is what I'm looking for tonight. So we pick our top 3, and we kind of let people know that those are what we're into. We pick our least favorite so that if we see somebody flagging that, we can be like, all right, that's not a good situation for me to be in right there. And then it's just a conversation piece, and that's really what it's about at its base, is having the conversation. Because honestly, how the hell do you tell the difference between mustard and goldenrod in a dark
seriously,
bar?
Jesus, So instead of asking somebody what their sign is, it's like, excuse me.
What color hanky is
mustard,
that?
or is that...
I had that question once. Are you flagging mustard left? I'm like, no, I'm flagging gold left. And they're like, I could flag mustard left, but I'm not.
I think there's really only 2 that I wouldn't flag anywhere. That's brown, because your kink is not my kink, but your kink is okay. And
chocolate?
Yes, that's exactly what brown indicates, Felicia. It's chocolate. And
wow.
I'm on the fence about black.
I'm sitting right here.
Well, we know I've been on the fence about you for 6 years, Felicia. 6 years. Gray is far more my style. Black is good and it has its place, but definitely more.
It has its place.
And you know your place.
Wow, I'm really uncomfortable right now.
Oh, this is the part where you would walk away.
I would, except that there's a big table in the way, and I don't want to rack my balls on the table.
And if Felicia stands
because
up,
I am
she's
not
gonna
flagging. Ah, shit! Give me a minute.
Would you like?
Oh, fuck.
I want to say teal, but I'm not sure.
I know it's one of the blues. It's one of the shade of blues, but I'm not sure which.
Somebody quick Google CBT hanky and find out what it is. Yeah, click on that.
I want to go.
It's going. Just...
See, this is why we are an educational program here, kids.
What's a flyboy?
Flyboy is a pilot or flight attendant or person in the Air Force.
Which color? There's so many.
So we're looking...
Oh,
teal.
Yeah, teal.
Teal.
I was right!
Last week I was both.
You were.
All of it.
Oh God.
Well, we're at 9 o'clock.
We are at 9 o'clock, but thank you, because, like I said, I've talked about a lot of this stuff based on only what I knew, and in talking to people that are in the leather community and things like that, and you know, obviously I don't have the in-depth information that somebody in the leather community would know. So yes, no, thank you. It's very, very educational. That's why we're here, kids.
Yay.
There's kids watching. Oh.
Can we put this on PBS? I mean, we are an educational program.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
I mean,
I don't know. I got nervous when my daughter got on here.
It's educational.
I mean, we weren't too in depth. We had already talked about.
She can't learn much more than what she's
Not
already.
Not that one.
I know, but still, she lives there.
Oh.
Just saying.
We love all the children.
God. Anyway, what have you got coming up, Kenneth? I know you've got a few things happening.
The Mr. and Miss Phoenix Leather contest will be the first weekend of January, and that will be at the Embassy Suites Hotel on 24th Street in Thomas. There will be events all weekend throughout the various bars. If you go to MrPhoenixLeather.com, the schedule will be posted.
Spelled out?
You'll be able to, Mr. M.R. Phoenix spelled out, leather spelled out.com. And then that has all of the information on that weekend, and we will be updating it as we get a little bit closer. And then the third weekend in January is the Southwest Leather Conference. That is a pansexual event. It's the home of the Southwest Master Slave Contest, the home of the Southwest Bootblack Contest, and there are. And then it is also a very educational weekend, and it will be...
You're stupid! We have somebody in the leather community put leather and daddy as a fucking buzzword.
And then the...
Drunk by 10 minutes.
Right.
Yep.
It's a very educational weekend. We've got 40 presenters coming to present almost 100 different classes throughout the weekend.
I need to see if I can work it into
this?
my budget. That's the third weekend in January.
It is the third weekend in January. It starts on the 17th and goes through the 21st. Or 17th through the 20th.
I need to see if I can work that into my budget. I would love to go for at least one of the days and go and...
So we will have at the hotel...
that weekend,
we will have at the hotel day passes available for $50. You can attend for the day
18th.
and attend the classes and whatnot. For an extra $25, you can stay
I have a fundraiser
during the evening and go to the play parties. But there are also weekend packages available that include everything. All of that is available on southwestleather.org. All spelled out. southwestleather.org.
Sorry, I got distracted by what Ryan was saying.
And it's
Spelled out?
Mm-hmm.
That's something I would really like to go to. But I just haven't. I need to figure out if I can work in my budget because pageants.
Yep. And for Southwest Leather, if you volunteer, you get $58 off your registration fee. So you have to commit to 8 hours, but if you volunteer, then it's $58 off your weekend package, which is currently set at $170. So that's quite a bit of saving, almost a third. And you can attend all of the classes except the ones you're volunteering during. But if you put classroom monitor as your volunteer choice, then you
can go right. So is there a schedule of events and stuff at southwestleather.org?
It is getting updated as we get closer and we finalize things.
So I may not be able to swing a weekend, but I might be able to do a day pass. Because
we could just volunteer.
I know, I'm still a broke-ass bitch.
I mean, you just say if you volunteer. You
Yeah, right, but I'm still
sounds like a personal
so,
problem.
I'm trying to save for. What have you got coming up, Felicia?
So we have no bingo this week. I don't think Carrie and Corey are watching. But
there's no bingo this week,
I'll
kids.
post it tomorrow because they're not watching. And on the 27th, we will be having the anti-holiday celebration.
Bring all your leftover baked goods.
That's basically it, so I can eat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I will wear a loose-fitting gown of some sort.
I'm gonna wear like my sweatpants.
Yeah.
Yoga pants.
Maybe I'll wear that underneath the gown.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, yeah. So bring all your leftover baked goods to the cache on December 27th, which is a Thursday, obviously after Christmas. So we're expecting lots of leftovers.
And since I tell everything first here anyway, it will be my last bingo at the cache. It's not my last bingo at the Cat Lounge, for obvious reasons. But it is my last bingo at the cache, and I have let them know, so don't start any people start business that doesn't need to be started.
And as far as I know, though I'm not sure because we're not entirely sure what's happening with the cache currently still, my plan is to carry bingo at least through January.
Because they're supposed to be open through January.
We think. I don't know. That's
question mark
TBD.
everywhere.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we do have cat bingo at La Guitarra this Friday, so that'll be fun and festive. I'm gonna wear my Santa getup again. I found my Santa suit at $20 at Savers, and it's a nice Santa suit. Like it's a thick, like velvety Santa. Yeah.
Is it thick? I think it's hot in there.
I'm gonna wear something underneath.
Okay.
Like a mesh shirt.
Because I might wear my Mrs. Claus thing, but with like a.
Because then we could match.
Like a.
Although yours is like a dark
body
red, mine's more of a bright
Yeah, it's like
red.
this color.
Yeah.
I'm not buying a whole new outfit just for you, okay?
I see.
Okay.
That's fine. Whatever.
Not that I need an excuse to buy outfits.
On Friday, January 18th, mark your calendars because myself, Dita Savage, and Dustin Riot are going to be taking over Espresso Grande's show at C7 for a fundraiser for Nationals.
Damn!
Because it's expensive.
Are you broke?
I'm broke.
I won't be there.
I'm heartbroken.
At least you're honest.
I
hate when people are
it's
like...
the same weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate when people are like, oh, I'll
That's
be
fine.
there.
That's fine. I'll
be
give you my
there.
PayPal. You can just donate that way. It's perfectly fine.
Damn.
And along the same lines, if anybody is interested in sponsoring anything for Nationals, whether it be a Southwest gift card, even a Visa gift card.
Oh, I figured out how you can transfer points.
Oh, that's good.
I'll send it to you.
Material, whatever. Gift cards to Sass, gift cards to Joanne's. Cold Hard Cash is good too. Let us know. I will happily send you any information. I am very transparent with everything. I can give you a breakdown of every cost. Like, oh, I can. And I can, like...
Well, that's good. You're supposed to.
I can give a breakdown of every cost. If someone donates something, I can be like, this went to this, and here's a receipt. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't play with that. Like, I can tell you where every single penny went.
Man.
Because I'm not the person that, donate all this money, and then all of a sudden their package
I dropped
costs,
out of that.
Right. So, yeah.
Oh, there we go, being shady again. So, keep your eye out on our Facebook or our Instagram for upcoming guests and more. We have upcoming guests like, Thank Grande, it's Friday. And hostess.
Do you need some help? Espresso Grande.
I have it right here. I don't know why.
I don't know why you're looking over there.
Go ahead.
Lady Christian is going to be with us. Sister Indica is going to be with us. Muffy Fish Basket from Chicago is going to be videoing in after the first of the year. And I don't know who that is.
I'll send you his Twitter link.
Because Tumblr got shut down? Phoenix artist Lisa Von Hoffner, and a whole bunch more. Actually, I got told today that Brandon McGill wants to be on the show again. So, I'm okay with that.
As long as
he
he
gets us views.
Unless he can't say it right. He still hasn't said it right.
Oh my god. Brandon, you need to be able to say the name of the show correctly before we can get you on again.
It's not a Fefe. That's all I'm saying.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Not a Fefe. I'm not a Fefe, and this is not a Fefe.
Well... thank you to our sponsors, ShellyLoveCreative.com, WigsOfAKind.com, BurleyBarbers.com, and of course, all of those who support us on Patreon.
Patreon.com/Let's Have a Fefe.
Brandon, Leanne, Carrie, and Corey, and Molly for...
And our newest supporter, Allison.
Oh, thank you, Allison. Hey. Whoop, whoop. Thank you again to our special guest. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Oh, I thought this was...
I hope y'all learned shit.
I thought you were going to be like, I don't know what to say.
Alright.
I was going to be like,
Get
okay. Be sure to like this episode, subscribe, share it with your friend, enemies, and Trump supporters, and all those people that are conservative and think that you're weird anyway. You can subscribe to us as a podcast as well, and listen to us on the way to work, at work. Well, maybe not at work. Think about it. Think about it. On your way home on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and more. You can also follow us here on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Special thanks to all of you who watch live, listen to us on the podcast, and watch us on the replay. We will see you next week. I think next week is the onesie party. I just need to confirm people. I haven't not reached out to those people.
You should probably do that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Anyway, we hope everybody has a wonderful holiday if you celebrate it. And if not, just enjoy the day off if you get it. And we will see everybody
or
next.
Or you can just buy us presents.
That works too.
You don't need a
I have an Amazon wish list. I will happily give you my Amazon wish list.
I accept Facebook cash too.
Oh, that's
just
exactly.
Just go ahead and message me, and then press the little money button, and then
we got
boom,
we can
right to my bank account.
Right,
I'm okay.
There's ways we can work.
I'm okay if you do that. You want to send me $20 right now? I'm waiting.
I'm not bad about that. We can do that.
Freddy is waiting.
Dude, let me tell you. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next week.